Hi everyone, Dennis Foley from Acoustic Fields. Today we're going to talk about, are you making a living in your room? As you know, I get a lot of calls from people who really fall into two categories. There's the hobbyist, whether it's playback, recording, mixing, mastering, whatever it is. There's the hobbyist, and then there's the professional. And when you're designing your room and you're budgeting out costs, you really need to define which of those two categories you're in. So you really need to define the function of your particular need, okay? If it's a hobby, then there's certain things that you can accept and tolerate, which you cannot when you're a professional and making a living in the room. What's one of those things? Well, the biggest one, obviously, is frequency response. How much of the room is in our mixes if we're a professional, and how much of the room is in our mixes or playback sources if we're a hobbyist. So everyone has different acceptability ratios, if you will, of those two issues. And the professionals simply can't, because they have a stricter definition that they have to go by, because they're competing in a marketplace for product quality. And no mix is going to be acceptable in any marketplace, thank God, if it's got plus 10, plus 12, plus 13 dB bumps below 100 cycles. So frequency response is critical whether you're as a hobbyist or as a professional. So we have to keep the definition of what we're doing in mind. If we're going to have a nice, smooth frequency response as a professional, we're going to have to spend the money to manage the low frequency energy in the room. It's always about the low frequency energy, because we have a small room and we want it to act and be a larger room, but it won't and it can't. So we're going to have to spend money to fix it. So the frequency response, especially below 100 cycles, has to have money, so to speak, put at it, thrown at it, if you will, in order to smooth out that frequency response. Because translation to a professional is critical. That's how he makes his living. If his mixes don't translate, he can't get the emotion, he can't get what the artist is trying to portray in the mix and in the recording, because there's too much room in the way. Okay? Here's another thing that I can't even imagine people, but I see it every day. In studios in Los Angeles, across the world, in New York, I see this. They're working around problems constantly. That has to affect your creativity. If you're working around issues all the time and running uphill, as they say, fighting against frequency response that's unwanted, unmanaged, it's got to get to you. I don't do that anymore. Really never have. Most of my listening is strictly for pleasure. But I can't even imagine, as an engineer, as a mixing, mastering engineer, fighting something constantly on a day-by-day basis. I don't even think I'd want to go into the room half the time, but I would have to, because that's how I made my living. So the energy in creativity loss must be great. So let's don't have that either, okay? How much room sound is acceptable? Well, both the hobbyist and the professional need to define that for themselves, because it depends on the genre and the formats and the markets that you're working in. My best guess is a hobbyist will accept more than a professional. And some of these things that are acceptable to the hobbyist that I see coming across my desk and my computer screen are really hard for me to understand. So step back when you're getting into the business, when you're trying to do something in an audio room. Step back, take a deep breath, and say, wait a minute. What am I doing here? What kind of room do I have, and what am I doing? Are they going to be compatible? Or are they so far apart that the cost to fix them will not be compatible with budget and what I'm trying to accomplish in the end? So take a deep breath, step back a little, define what you're trying to do in the room, and then we can say, all right, since you're a hobbyist, we We can get away with a little bit less management maybe on the low end, but with a professional, we have to have a nice, smooth, and tight response so that our creativity is not impacted or lost. So I hope that helps. Always ask yourself if you're going to be making a living in the room, and realize that the criteria that you're going to have to subscribe to is going to be a lot more restrictive than a hobbyist. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. We also have a newsletter that you can subscribe to, so please do that because we offer special price discounts to only those on our newsletter. And then don't forget about our forum. We have started a forum on our own website where people ask questions, and I usually get a chance every couple of days to look at it. There's an interchange between people on the forum, and we'll give you real answers on a regular basis, so that'll help you. Thank you.